If you ever come late one more time, I cannot take you anymore. That's it. I'm also, mamish, I'm making my business to be on time. I'm taking a taxi, and in the middle, suddenly the taxi has a flat tire. Usually taxis are not supposed to have a flat tire. You know where? On 42nd and 5th Avenue. Holy Josh. You're sitting there till you find another cab. I'm 20 minutes late. And the door was open, and as I walk in, two very fine-looking people walk out, dressed fancy. And the whole office is turned over. And the person who's sitting on the chair is half dead. Like someone cut him in the throat, and he's bleeding. The story was that those two gangsters walked in, and one of them put a knife in this person's throat, and they says, for any second you're not giving me so much money. So if I would have been on time, not that I wish it to this person, but if I would have been on time, I would have been sitting there on the chair. So the dentist says, from now on, whenever you come, I'm not going to tell you anymore when to come. So whenever I'm late, I'm thinking, who knows what I missed of bad things for sure coming late. But before we start learning, I want to tell you something. Holy Josh, sweet, Levi. I'm sure I don't have to tell you, but just it's good to know. By the world, Yom Kippur is has become a real, so to speak, real sweet Jewish holiday because you feel guilty all year from not being so good. Oh, now comes Yom Kippur. This is your day, right? You come and you bring in all your dirty laundry, your dirty sins. And sometimes you need a truck, and you come there and you come to shul. It is so far from this, it is so far. I want you to know something. On Shabbos, you're not permitted to carry from one domain to the other, right? There's a Torah from the Friedrich Lubavitcher. He says basically Yom Kippur, we're not in this world. We're fasting. We were white, right? We're not in this world. And we are not even permitted to carry from the world of not Yom Kippur into Yom Kippur. And basically, we have 10 days, basically 9 days. Basically, when it comes on Yom Kippur, it is so holy, so exalted. It would be so much a profanation of God's name if I would just sit there and count my sins. Maybe we'll have a chance later on. I just want to give you one taste. One taste. And I'll make it in the deepest, most awesome, most simple way. Okay, imagine a husband and wife, and the wife runs off with somebody else. Right? Okay, they make up. But then they get very, very close again, right? What is she telling her husband when they're very close again? You know something? Even at moments when you could swear that I forgot you, even then I was thinking of you. I was always thinking of you. You know, I'm not telling God my sins on Yom Kippur. I'm telling God, you know something, even when I did this wrong, I didn't forget you for 1 second. I did everything wrong, but I didn't forget you for 1 second. It's like, it's a completely different thing, right? And here's about Shem Tov's Torah, you know, this. I need the guitar to see the about Shem Tov's Torah. Okay, let's say, imagine I'm married and I'm not faithful to my wife, Chas v'sholem. Then I'm telling her everything I did wrong, right? How am I telling it to her? I am supposed to tell her very heartbroken, right? Very sad. Am I going to sing it to her? She says, really, stop being ridiculous, you know? I mean, you're telling me you hurt me in the deepest way, right? And you're singing it? You know? Anybody who's ever been in a real good shul, right? How do we sing Shamna? Let's sing it together. You know what Shem Tov would say every Yom Kippur before Shamna? He say, Rabbeinu Shalom, if you wouldn't sin so much, where would you hear such a sweet melody? You know, it's something else, right? Yeah. There's my pick here. Dover, you don't happen to have your guitar also?
It's upstairs. It's a beautiful horse.
Your horse? Oh, there was one. If I would sound as good as you sound when you're horse, I'd be sitting in Hollywood singing. But you know, I tell you, sometimes it's good that Dovel doesn't know how good his voice is, because if he would know, he'd pick up and go to Hollywood, right? So what would happen to your car? So, you know, like God says to Aaron and Miriam about Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, don't tell him he's so humble, right? You'll ruin him. It's not 100% tune. More or less. Okay. What do you say? Maybe you're the greatest. Okay. And then you continue to say, צדיקים אנחנו, אבל אנחנו, אוי ואבוי ישנו, אותו בבנו. And it's like, what should I tell you? Yoshem Orayim Madame Manisada Hainava I can't wait all year long to daven for the Yom Kippur. It's so good. You know how to sing Yom Kippur? Beginning of Yom Kippur, you walk into shul, right? Give me the sweetest harmony. Shiva Shalmano, I be Shiva Shalmato, Dasamukoim, Yadavasako, Onamati Lilis Palei, I mean, the words can tear at your heart. It says, in the assembly above, in the assembly below. Yeah, on Yom Kippur, God is judging the whole world, not only the living on this side and the other side. Of this generation, the whole world is judged, right? They all are together. So if we have Kol Nidre here, we have Kol Nidre up there, on top. So it says, Yeshiva Shel Malo, actually it's awesome, you know. Be Yeshiva Shel Mat, Yeshiva here. We give permission to daven even with the lowest person. We say it 3 times. And let's sing it. You have to sing it 3 times, so 1 time I said already. But I need much stronger harmony. I be Yeshiva Shel Malo, Ubi Yeshiva Shel Mato, Aldasa Mokoim, Aldavasako, Onomatirin Lehis Balei, Yeshiva Shel Malo, Yeshiva Shel Mato, Adam Rasamokai, Ve'adas Avakor, Onomatirin Lehis Balei, I'm sure most of you know where this melody comes from, but in case maybe one person doesn't. During the time of the Inquisition, you know, I mean, it's unbelievable how much they risked their lives. We don't really know why they didn't leave Hard to know, right? But anyway, one time they were davening and the Inquisition found them. And they took them straight to the marketplace to throw them in the fire. And while they were walking through the street till the fire, obviously that chazan had mamish ruach hakodesh. He reached such a high level. I mean, this is a heavenly melody. It's not just, you cannot go over to a piano and make up a melody like this, right? I want you to know something. This melody is so awesome. It's not touches anybody in the world. Just sing it one more time. Ta-dee, ta-dee, and you go one step higher. Here you have to manage to help me out. This is the highest. Can you go up to I have to tell you something. You know, in the laundromat they're using good stuff to clean you out, right? You know what kind of a strong kind of a thing is this to wash out your soul? Like, awesome, right? Cleans you out completely. The best Yom Kippur story I heard, start mentioning names. Anyway, this person was in Siberia, and The first 5 years where he was the only Jew in the whole camp. You know, if there's one more Jew, they remind each other, it's Shabbos, it's Pesach, it's Yom Kippur, all alone, and you're dead anyway. You know what? How do you live in a concentration camp? You stop thinking. Because when you think, you can't bear it, right? So, just like a dead person moving around. After 5 years, it was some kind of a prisoner exchange, and they had to walk 10 days in the snow, then they camp, and they exchanging from another concentration camp. And the deal was that they're not permitted to talk to the prisoners from the other camp. And there are all those guards standing with guns, guarding them, and they're supposed to walk around. So there are 2 circles. He told me my circle for my camp, and actually just a few feet away, the other camp also walking around. Suddenly, one of the non-Jewish brothers behind me says to me, "Don't turn around, I have to tell you something." In the other camp, there's also a Jew who has not seen Jews in 5 years. He says he has to speak to you tonight, even both of you are shot. It doesn't matter. He says, we're dead anyway. But I have to talk to you right now. So watch out when you see somebody else jumping over fast, and you know it's this Jew. He says, I'm watching out. I see someone jumping over and walking around like he's one of us. Finally, he manages to get behind me. I'm so glad to see him. And I stopped walking around. I said, you know, I haven't seen a Jew in 5 years. And the other one says, you know, I haven't seen a Jew in 5 years. He says, what's so special tonight? He says, you don't know, it's Yom Kippur. He says, you know, I was not religious, but Yom Kippur night, I would go to shul. Especially I remember I would walk with my grandfather to shul. I said, you know something, I don't remember any of the prayers. But he says, you know, my father was a chazan in Kishinev. And I was like a wonder child. And I was singing in his choir all the time. So he says, I remember everything. So I said, you want to sing it? And you see, I thought I really know what beautiful voices are. It does not compare to this one. This was straight from heaven, this voice. And he began singing Kol Nidre. And all the inmates, suddenly we got very close from both camps. And everybody was harmonizing. You know, I don't have to tell you, Kol Nidre is so easy to harmonize, right? And I look around, the guards put down their guns. It was like Mashiach had come. Like, and this person, whatever his name was, from Kishinev, singing his heart out. Let's sing it one more time. Can you imagine if you can hypnotize your own soul and be in Siberia for 5 minutes, see the harmony of all those half-dead people, you know, coming back to life, you know. Awesome. Da da, So I'm standing there and everybody's singing, and just suddenly we're not in prison. That is a very mamish by the Vissamikdash and Yerushalayim. The only thing which bothered me was the captain of the guards. It was the most cruel person in the world. I mean, for him to whip somebody is nothing. And I couldn't understand why he's not doing something. And while I'm standing there, suddenly I feel a soft hand on my shoulder. I look up. The captain. Not to be believed. His eyes are red with tears. He says, nobody knows here that I'm Jewish. He says, you know something, when I was young, I wanted to become an opera star. But somehow I got into the wrong crowd, began stealing. And you see, I'm here in Siberia, guard. I'm dead. Not alive anymore. But when I hear people singing Kol everything comes back to me. So he says, could I join you? And this leader from Russia told me, he thought that this person from Kishinev has the greatest voice in the world. There was not 1/1000th of the voice of this captain of the guards. When he finished Kol Nidre, he says to him, I know you'll make it to Israel. He says, bless me, I should make it too. So this Hebrew tells me whenever I come to the Holy Wall, I'm still looking for the captain. I also get a call from the judge who was in charge of him. He says to me, it's a very heavy case, and reluctantly they gave him 3 days. And I'll be there at the wedding also. Okay, the wedding is in the loft, and obviously he invited a minion of weathermen who was not caught yet. I'm walking in there. Today I don't know if I would have done it this way, but walking in there and this really have nothing against rock and roll, but sometimes there's a certain music is a holy thing, right? But this was mamish unholy music, you know. Unholy music. So I got myself in the middle of the room. I said, friends, I didn't come here to listen to this music. I'm here to perform a wedding, and this music is destroying the atmosphere. Please turn it off. Turn it off. Some started calling me F names and all kinds of things, but I ignored them. Sure, Margot. I tell you something, I don't know where I got the guts. The chuppah was about 3.5 hours. Just to show them where it's at.
It was a short wedding.
A short wedding. And I don't want to say, believe me, they were not short of the letter I mentioned before. Every 2 minutes somebody called me, you know. And everything. When I read the ksuba, hey. I said, hey, this is... Anyway. It was unbelievable. But you know something? Those people who were against me, maybe 5, 6, almost the same. But the rest was just warmish with it. It was with it. And I'm telling you the ending of two things. First of all, at the end of the chuppah, they had a little feast, Shavuos. 4 weeks later, I get a call from the judge. He says, I want you to know, hey, Shabbos Kitzontes, Tamar, Shabbos. He says to me, I want you to know your wedding was so beautiful, and the chosn, the weatherman, decided he wants to become a rabbi. Isn't that sweet? And he says to me, what do you think? He says, you know more about that. Anyway, I met the judge and the future rabbi. And I said to the judge, you know, he mamish was doing tshuva, you know, he mamish realized he was off, you know. I said to him, he was mamish a zisu boy, you know. Basically he was angry with his parents, right? Oh God, he told me his whole life story. Anyway, to make it very short, I took the guarantee for him and we shipped him off to Israel, to yeshiva. Yeah. And you see, the judge did it against the law. Officially, he ran off and he changed his name. He came to Israel. They got him everything, mamish, underground, and even over yeshiva he learned. And he's mamish a big Talmid Chochem today. But the most unbelievable thing is, after he mamish became a yeshiva bocha again, the Bis Yaakov girl didn't like it anymore. He says she was a little bit on her way out from being from, and he's on his way back. So she wanted to get. What can you do? Anyway, but the end of the story is they have to send the ksuba back. You know, when you perform a legal wedding, you have to send not the ksuba, how call it, the license back. And the weatherman did one good thing. They poured some real heavy heroin on the license and put it, mamish, as Federal Express, I don't know how much tons of heroin and all kinds of way out drugs they put on the ksuba. It was my signature. And I get a call from this Nebuch clerk, a woman, a very sweet Irish woman. She doesn't know what's going on. She says, you know, I'm a little bit confused. Is this a Jewish like tradition to pour heroin over the license? And I said, no, I'm sorry to tell you, it's very much not the Jewish. And I said, you can ask the judge. You know, I gave him the number. He was there, sadly enough. His couple was a bit off. Anyway, l'chaim. What is it? Oh, but Yom Kippur, Chaim. Chaim. Okay, now we're getting serious. So deep that it is a Torah which you have to take with you like forever. More than forever. And if you learn it when it was Mimi and Yoni, why do I have to learn it again? But I'm sure you learn it well. Okay, we'll learn it again. If you were here before, if you remember, they took two goats. And the goats have to look each other completely alike. Shovin b'mare or b'kaima. They have to have the same color and the same height. They look exactly the same. And then one goes into the Holy of Holies, not the Holy of Holies, into the Beis Hamikdash, and the other one is sent to the desert. And again, maybe we'll have a few minutes later on to explain this part of the desert, but right now let's inhale it. And how did it operate? So, imagine they hear those two goats, one is left and one is right? And then they put those two pieces of paper in a little basket. It says left and right. And then the high priest putting his hand, and the way it says Torah b'kafa. This itself gives you the shivers. Because you can sometimes put your hand in the basket and feel your way around. It's nothing to do with your head. Nothing to do with your feeling. It comes from beyond. It's like you grab it. Torah b'kafa. He looks, and it says the right one, Kodesh L'Shem, or maybe the left one. So the deepest question is, why does it have to be throwing a lot? And second, why couldn't they just, a committee of priests decided the right one goes to the temple or the left one? Or why do they have to look alike? The most important thing is there have to be two sacrifices. One is, you see what it is? We always need two kinds of energies. We need one energy is to give us strength to do right, a lot of energy. And then it takes a lot of energy not to do wrong. Right? Well, actually, I want you to know something. We learned it a lot of times. Friday night we sing Shalom Aleichem. We greet you, holy angels. The Talmud says they're the good angels and the bad angels. And especially Friday night. Imagine if it would be so easy to do good. It would be meaningless. The special thing about doing good comes on so hard. If the world would never know that there's such a thing as hating somebody, what's so big about loving somebody? It's because there was so much hatred in the world. So when you love somebody, it's very special, right? So Friday night we're thanking God for the energy He gives us, because the energy which is coming down from heaven is called angel, and the other energy is to make it hard. Mamish hard. All those obstacles. Remember, one Rebbe says, if it comes on easy, don't do it, forget it. Because anything important does come on hard, right? How hard is it for the Chinese to stay in their country? Everybody knows China is China, right? There's one country in the world we have to fight our way for every second, right? It's crazy. Why is it so hard? Because it's so deep. It is so deep, it is so deep, right? So here comes the deepest depth. This is one of the deepest Torahs from Ishbitz. To know the difference between good and maybe better or not so good is not so hard when you open your hearts. Because this is everything, nobody would say it. Only Ishbitzer can say it. Do you know that evil, real evil, looks just as good as good? It's awesome, right? Do you know the cute little murders? You can see their little murders. They look like murders. The real murders, right? The real murders who are ready to kill the whole world. They look very nice. Smell from perfume. Just hit a manicure. And they say, hi, how are you? I'm so worried about you, right? Yom Kippur is the utmost. I want you to know the deepest depths. On Yaakov and Esav, the final separation between Yaakov and Esav is on Yom Kippur. Do you know when you see Yaakov and you see Esav, you wouldn't know the difference? Do you know what the Kotzker Rebbe said? Esav's shtreimel was bigger than the shtreimel of Yaakov. His gartel was twice as long. And his shalashudas, you gotta go? Peace. And his shalashudas were even longer. Imagine you walk into the Vesvadosh of Esav. Esav sitting there. He raped 5 girls before and was planning on doing one after the davening. But in the meantime, by the davening, he's standing there, shuffling away. And you think, what a Rebbe, right? You think, what a Rebbe. And then you think, he looks exactly like Yaakov. They were twins, right? So, to know the difference between good and real evil, this is beyond us. This is just from heaven. You need a revelation from heaven. And you see, everybody knows, if you remember, we're learning it 1,000 times. What's the highest thing on me? You would say my head. You're wrong, because my hand reaches much higher, right? So the high priest with his head couldn't decide which was for the Beis Hamikdash and which one was for the desert. With his hands. And one more very deep thing, you know what he brought down, the high priest? That the master of the world should guard our hands. Should guard our hands. It's so easy to do something terrible. It's so easy. Do you know something? It is not only between good and evil. I want you to know something awesome. It's maybe sometimes hard not to be so good. But to be evil is very easy. Very easy. You know, sometimes you talk to somebody and you think they're good, right? And then suddenly you realize, this is an evil person. Mamish evil, as simple as it is. Come on, didn't know, right? God bless you. God bless you. You see, when it comes to choice, on the level of choice, we'll never know. On the level, I don't have choice. I have choice between good and better. You know, Maudolevi say, the master of the world separates light from darkness. I mean, really, you don't need God for that. Keep God for bigger things. But you need God from light to darkness. I know myself there's light and there's darkness. You're wrong. The darkness which you can see is dark. This is not the real darkness. Just remember what the Zohar says. There's two kinds of darkness. There is a darkness which is just the absence of light. And there is mamish dark, you know. You don't even mention their names, you know. You think Germany was just the absence of light? Never. They didn't have the Ishbitz HaToyras there, and they didn't have the Amshnomer Rebbe. They were missing light. It was the darkest, the abyss of evil, right? And the abyss of evil looks like light. That's what's so heartbreaking. The abyss of evil looks like light. So Yom Kippur, when I look at all my mistakes, and I realize, Gewalt Rabbeinu Shalom, I don't know the difference between good and evil. I want you to know something without getting involved. Just recently I saw some parents mingled in, and their daughter loved someone very much. This boy is so sweet. Mom is the sweetest. And the girl is so sweet. And the parents stood over heaven and earth that they don't want their daughter to marry this boy. Right? The girl had a nervous breakdown. She was cured. The boy got crazy and he's completely off. Should send him to Shalom. So you'll ask the father and the mother, right? He's a great rabbi. Roll his eyes. Right, he's good. It's not good for my daughter, right? The abyss of evil. The abyss of evil. Mamish abyss of evil. I want you to know something. This Torah Mamish opened my eyes in the most awesome, most unbelievable way. What we think is a holy people, they're cute people, they're good people. I don't know. Maybe they are the most evil. You know, you don't need a knife to kill somebody. There's a million other ways. You don't even need an atomic weapon to kill a whole city. So easy. It is so easy, right? So what's on Yom Kippur? The first thing on Yom Kippur, the high priest. And once you know the high priest is the one who's connected to the highest place in heaven. You hear, friends? Yom Kippur is not just asking forgiveness for my mistakes. Yom Kippur is connecting myself to the absolutely highest, beyond place in heaven. Beyond, beyond, beyond. Because in order to not to fall into the trap, you have to be connected with your beyond, with your on the level of a goyrel, not of a level of understanding, but on the level of like throwing a lot. It's beyond me, right? Why is suddenly the white goat going to the Beis Hamikdash and the left goat, or vice versa, goes to the desert? I have no idea. But who cares? That's what it is. And if you remember the high priest, the whole avodah of Yom Kippur. And I wish we would have 10 years just, I don't know, some of you had a chance to learn Masechta Yoma. It's deep like the Masechta. And if you remember, the high priest was not permitted to sleep the night before. And the truth is, he was literally delirious. The high priest was absolutely delirious, beyond his senses. And everything went so fast, the Kohanim were fast. He had to go around 5 times to the mikveh, change garments 5 times in seconds. Beyond. I want you to know people who trust their heads. This is Asaph. Asaph trusted his head to know what is right and what's wrong. The Yaakov Ishtam. You know what Yaakov is? Yaakov is, Tam means complete, like Tam means also beyond my senses. Beyond. Where's this noise station? Do we have it here?
Sure.
If you don't mind? Oh. Do you don't mind if I learn a few more? If time. Chaim. I'll tell you something very simple. You know, sometimes, I'm sure it happens to you, it happens to me 1,000 times. None of us want to do something evil, right? Hopefully. At least not intentionally. Imagine, it just happened to me right now, you know, and I had no choice. I was already so late. So suddenly somebody calls me up that he needs me to do him a favor or something. I say, listen, you know, I have to be in your car 5 o'clock, and it's already 5 after 5. Have compassion if I start talking to you now, right? I says, so where will I find you? I give him 3 places, but such a schlep, you know. Says, what happens if you're not in those 3 places? I says, I'm telling you now, I'll be there, right? But you see those heathen. I said, listen, do me a favor. I'm sorry, I have to go. Okay, let's hope I didn't do too much harm. But I don't know, right? Maybe this person really needed me just at that moment, right? I don't know. And it's possible that because I was not so friendly to him, you know, he might take it offended in the deepest way, right? So I cannot guard myself, because according to just my judgment, I have to be 5 o'clock in your car. If someone calls me, and it is something which I can do later, I says, call me later, right? But imagine if I would be connected like the high priest to the highest place in heaven. It would shine into me, you know, this is one part. Because here, car, I'm not dealing with life. We'll wait a few minutes. Maybe with this person, I don't know, right? I don't know what he wanted, right? He told me he wanted, what he wanted officially, you know, friends, remember the Torah from the Chernobyl? He says, the question is not if you hear what they say, the question is do you hear what they don't say, right? Because people only tell you, people hardly ever tell you what really bothers them, right? Tell you the outside of the outside. Okay, here we come to the deepest depths. If you remember when God created the world, really nobody, humanly speaking, you have to take it on the highest level. Humanly speaking, nobody raised their voices. You know, when God says, let there be cows, let there be dogs, there was no voice in the creation saying, who needs dogs? Who needs mice? Who needs cats? Why not? Yeah, let's keep them. When God says, let us create man, there was a voice in the universe saying, Mo enosh gitzis kirenu. Who needs man? Man is destroying the world. If you don't create man, the world will be very peaceful. Right? Imagine there would be no man in the world. And again, I have to add one more thing which is very important. When did animals begin eating each other or hating each other? Do you know until Cain killed Abel, there was no hatred in nature? Isn't that awesome? Awesome. That means the way God created the world, all of nature is living in harmony. It is only after Cain killed Abel that the animals said, human beings kill each other. At least let us kill somebody who's not exactly like us, right? The tiger says, let's attack the lion, let's attack human beings. And basically, most animals are good to each other, right? One mosquito doesn't bite another mosquito. Right? L'chaim. I know what you mean. So now listen to this. You know, when a person is hating somebody else, where's this voice coming from? Those two angels, Uzo, well, let's see, unbelievable. Uzo and Azor, we don't have time to go into the names right now. Uzo and Azor, they said, who needs man? And listen to this unbelievable thing. Let's say Yoni is my best friend, but imagine, God forbid, I'll take you as an example because you're my friend. Imagine I would go up to Yoni and say, God forbid, I would never say, but imagine something, God forbid. I would say, Yoni, who needs you? You're disgusting. Or he would tell me righteously, who needs you? You're disgusting. Whose voice is that? That is the voice of those two angels, Uzo and Azor. You know what that means? There is something in the world. There is something. Oh, here today's psychology talks a little bit about it. But according to the Zohar, to the Gemara's Mamish, this is engraved when God created the world, when God created man. Who needs man? Who needs you? And here, if you have strength to listen to this is mamish awesome. Do you know the people who hate children? They are the ones who really don't believe that a human being should be created. So every little human being they see disturbs them. Mamish disturbs them. Because they would like to wipe out mankind from the world. The Ishbitzer says that the Egyptians, you know, what's a slave? A human being is created in God's image, right? But Uzo and Azor think it's just a high kind of a species who makes trouble. And listen to this unbelievable thing is, the Ishbitzer says that deep inside, the Egyptians hated their own children. And from all the children, whom do you hate the most? The firstborn. It's awesome. And this is so mind-blowing, it's beyond. Do you know who killed the firstborn? You know, remember, there was Makas Chayshech, there was darkness. Whose darkness was it? What was shining into the world? The darkness of the Egyptians, right? Like God opened the gates and suddenly we saw this abyss of evil, right? Imagine God forbid, I would meet Eichmann, right? He had a tie on, manicured nails, very friendly. Then I think he's a human being, right? What was the plague of darkness? Suddenly we saw they're not human. They are not human, they're dark. Dark. And then the next plague was the killing of the firstborn. You know who killed them? Not physically. It was a hatred of their parents who killed them. They didn't want their children to be alive. But on an ordinary day, the hatred of parents cannot kill children. That night, when everything was so clear, everything was so exalted, what are we doing to save their life? They're sitting with our children. Because this is the acid test. Do you want your children to be alive? Do you want the world to exist? Are you glad that God created human beings who are created in His image? Or do you hate it? I'm sure it's clear to you that people who hate want to destroy the whole world. I don't ever shared it with you, but maybe there's one person I didn't share it with. You know, every person needs a lot of things to grow up, right? So here I'm a little boy in Vienna, and the Nazis coming. And sometimes you think, you know, the first time my holy brother came home when he was 7 years old, and someone called him dirty Jew. So my brother came home and was crying. You know, it's not so simple. When you call a little boy dirty Jew, you start thinking, maybe I'm really dirty. Maybe I really am, you know, what do I know, right? If someone tell me on the street, hey, you have a dirty face, I run home fast to see if maybe it's really dirty, right? He came home crying. My father was a very Zisa Yid, and he put him on his knee. Then he says, was I supposed to call him dirty goy? Gotta react. I'll never forget it. My father says, a slave reacts like this. Call him dirty slave. He says, you're a dirty slave. A king does not react. Call me dirty? That's it. But I want you to know something that got so strong into me. I'm a very good swimmer. Our house was a very beautiful house, like a little palace overlooking the park. The moment the Nazis came, it was dangerous for my brother and me to play in the park, because the kids told us, we're going to kill you, as simple as this. But in the house, it was not dangerous. I'm standing on the balcony, and suddenly I see in the park there's a sea, a little lake. And you know, where we lived in outskirts of Vienna is like a little village, and I knew every Jew, every non-Jew, all the kids. Why did we know all the kids, my brother and I? Because in those days, in those years, collecting stamps was the greatest thing in the world. And a little boy in Bad Berlin, where does he get the stamp from, right? So we were the official stamp collectors for the whole vicinity. Because of us, they knew what an American stamp was from Africa, you know, from other places, and we put all those kids on the map. So you know every kid. Suddenly I see that there were two kids whom I knew in a little boat, like a little canoe, and then just turned over, and they were yelling for help because they don't know how to swim. So I said to my mother, I don't care, I'm running over and got those kids out from... And my mother, I remember how much my mother was fighting with me. She just held me. She said, no, they're going to kill you. But then I said, no, I got to see, maybe I cannot be here anymore. So my mother ran with me. She thought if something happened, she would protect me. Running over to the park. And for me, from the balcony until I arrived at the lake, it's maybe 7-8 minutes. You know, when someone is drowning, 7-8 minutes is a long time, right? By the time we got there, those kids were within the top of the water. Most probably 90% dead, and they put them on the shore. And then someone says we should call a doctor. If they would have called a Jewish doctor, he would have been there in 2 minutes. Listen to this. Called a Nazi doctor, right? The Nazi doctor says, I'm in the middle of dinner. I'll come later. Do you think anybody tried to revive them? No, they was just lying there, and people were talking to each other. Music was going on. Then the Nazi came in his uniform, a doctor, and he says, I could have saved them maybe half hour ago, but I was in the middle of dinner, I couldn't come. you know what was clear to me? They're not hating Jews. Deep inside, they're hating every human being. They're hating their own. You know, it's so important for us Jews to know. Anti-Semitism is not against Jews. It's against mankind. Against their own children. Their own children. I remember lately I'm giving a lot of concerts in Germany, so I'm reading German stuff. One of the sons of a big German general deserted the army. Then he was caught. He was brought back. It's unbelievable. It's a true story. He gave an unbelievable speech. He says, I want you to know, was in Italy. I met the Italians. They're so good. They're so sweet. I lived with them for 3 months. There's no reason for me to kill them. Why should I go and kill them? So his father, a German general, gives order, shoot my son. So the son says, you ordering them to kill me? And you know, I don't even want to repeat what the father says. We give a damn about his own son. The Führer, right? You know what's happening to us on Yom Kippur? Listen to this. This is so deep. And I'm sure Charlotte will think it's gewalt. All our mistakes come because we are not so sure we should really be in this world. There is something inside of every person of Uzo and Azor that says, who needs you? Who needs you? On one hand, there's something inside of me that says, who needs all the other human beings? Maybe I'm not making it loud, but when I see a homeless person hanging around, it says, who needs them? I see somebody who's not so beautiful, that's who needs this ugly person. You remember the awesome story, the Blazer was coming to the city and a very, very ugly person came to greet him and he says, under his own beard, this person is ugly. He says to him, why did you complain to my maker? See, according to Chassidus, it was Eliyahu. And he taught Reb Lezer, the son of Reb Shimon Yochai, you can be the biggest Rebbe, but to wipe out this voice of Uzun and Zohar who needs this person, you need Eliyahu to wipe it out from you. You cannot just read a book, yes, I'm convinced. Because this is, you know what it means? That angels are saying it, it means it's deep, deep inside of everybody's nature. It's awesome. I want you to read, I'm telling you the words. V'hinei zeh hakoach tzafun b'lev ha'adam. That means this voice is hidden inside. Hamekatrik al havayuto. That means there is something inside of me. I say, God, what did you need me for? I'm completely useless. I'm nothing. And you know, which is the voice who wants me always to do something wrong? To prove to me that you're worthless. Because here I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, I'm nothing. And here, Mama, she wants us to blow our minds. On Yom Kippur, when I'm standing before God and I'm telling Him all my sins, is there any day when I feel more worthless than on Yom Kippur? So here's the Ishbitz Mamish, like Hitchcock turn. You know what I'm telling God? I'm telling myself, even if I'm doing everything wrong, gewalt my holy. Gewalt my God's image. Gewalt my important. And you know what? You have to ask each other for forgiveness in Kippur. It's not the ordinary, I hurt your feelings, forgive me. Because when I hurt your feelings, when I was telling you, nobody needs you. So before Yom Kippur, I'm walking up to you, I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I need you, God needs you. The world couldn't be without you. If you remember, I was telling you a lot of times that if I'm a little bit of a Jew, one of the main reasons for me being Jewish is because of my father's blessing, Yom Kippur night. It was awesome. You know, I always think about all those young people who never had the privilege of having a father who blesses them Yom Kippur night. It's a miracle they're Jewish. You see, my father was so edel, you know, so gentle. Like, I would stand for my father, he would sit. Usually Friday night when he would bless me, he would stand. Yom Kippur night, because my father had a long thing, which for my grandfather, it's almost a whole page. So he would sit. And just imagine me, I'm 5 years old, let's say. My father's, but he would mamish make sure he's putting his hand on my head to keep my head down. Awesome. And he kept my head down not because he wanted my head to be down, because my father didn't want me to see how much he's crying. Every word had a million tears. And it's a very long prayer, you know, like saying your hands should only do good, your feet should only run good, you know, like everything, every part of me should be in the right track. But you know what it is? It's so easy even for parents to think, who needs you? I remember I was once somewhere and I met this person who was completely broken. It's crazy. He's a doctor. He's an unbelievable successful doctor. Said in those before I met Josh, I would have sent him to you for a little healing. And he was completely broken. And I began talking to him. He says to me, his father would always tell him, why did you play on the freeway and don't come back? What's he telling him? Nobody needs you. So you hear Yom Kippur is, listen to this. So you think really that you want every human being to be alive? Do you really think you are on the level to know? Unless God is shining into you, it's so easy to fall into the trap. Right? You see, the high priest, when he was saying, this goat is for the Beis HaMikdash, and this goat is the voice who's telling you who needs a human being, right? And has to be sent to the desert. You'll never know who it is. You'll never recognize his voice, right? And the high priest with his head also couldn't recognize the voice. Only with a goat. So you hear, Francis, is so deep. Deep is not the word. And here comes a little Torah from Ishmael. Twice a year, we are wiping out this voice. On Yom Kippur, I'm wiping out this voice to tell me that I'm not worthless. Say the night when I'm telling my children You know, I'm sure most of you know, all of us, all our Chaver, we know. The most important thing in Yiddishkeit is to make your children compliments day and night. Day and night. You cannot tell your children enough how beautiful they are, how good they are. And you know, those parents who think, you know, I'm always telling my children, you know, when they do wrong, they are the goat who's supposed to go to the desert. I think I shared with you a few years ago. I don't think anybody, Dovitor wasn't here yet to play with me. I played up in Tveria for a camp of underprivileged children, 600 kids. The ages between 5 and 10. The cutest kids you've ever seen in your life. Beautiful is not the word, right? So all the 600 kids. So I asked them, when was the last time that someone told you how beautiful you are? Complete silence. Then one little girl, 5, I mean cute, I mean you want to adopt her and just take her with you home. She says, my father told me I'm ugly like the night. Then the boy says, yeah, my father told me, or my mother, I'm the worst person in the world. And then those kids opened up. And every kid's something else. You see, I'm not judging their parents. They're poor, right? They're broken. But they're letting off their anger at the world of their children. So here what the Ishbitzer says. Every year after Pesach, there are new flowers. It's unbelievable. Because each time we wipe out Uzo and Azor, nature responds by giving us flowers. Isn't that awesome? I want you to know it is so deep, this Torah. Beyond. Skalit, you have to go? Because before you leave, I want to talk to you. You hear, friends? I was in Poland. And you know, in Poland, it was the first Jewish music. I'm sorry Josh didn't come with me, and Doris didn't come with me. What can you do? Anyway, we went, Charlotte was a Gewalt. You know what is Poland all about? If you think about it. It is the voice of Uzo and Azor, right? They were not wiping out 6 million Jews. They were wiping out the world. You see, the killing of 6 million was not a crime against Jews. A crime against mankind, right? So anyway, in Poland, you know, in America or anywhere when you sing, at the end they give you flowers. In Poland, they give you flowers after every song. You know. And I want you to know it was so gewalt. Charlotte was saying, gewalt was gewalt, right? It was one heart and one soul. Especially all those young Polish non-Jewish kids came and they didn't know what to expect, right? They thought, who knows, I'm going to take a broom and wipe them out. And it was so awesome. But anyway, after every song, they gave me flowers. If you remember something, the most cutest kids came up to give me flowers. I don't know if you remember the whole thing. Each time I would say Torah on flowers. But my main Torah, I said it in about 100 ways. My main Torah was because flowers is a sign to let you know that the world couldn't exist without you. Because flowers are the answer of nature to be confirmed that the world cannot exist without human beings. So when you love somebody, send them flowers. It's awesome. I said one more time. Basically, flowers last just a little bit. You want to say something? You want to say something? Let's hear. People couldn't hear. I'm sorry, you have to say it again. But you know, you have to come up here a little bit more because you're too far in the back. So let's hear what you say. Yeah? So you're the best. Let's hear it.
First thing is that Shlomo has a special effect about him. You want to speak into the mic?
Yeah, sure. You hold the mic.
First thing is that Shlomo has this wonderful effect about him, that he brings out in each of us that which is wonderful. And that works on me as well. Okay, so thank you.
Now, let's hear the Torah.
Yes, the Torah. It's part of the Torah. There are two stories in the beginning of Bereshit about how the world was created. And how to put the two stories together is in itself a story. But one of the differences between the stories is that in the first story, the plants come before people. Plants are created on the third day, and people show up on the sixth day. And in the second story, it's the other way around. The first thing that gets created after Shemayim Varetz is people. Then come the plants, and God brings out plants, and He plants Gan Eden and all that. And I was just thinking about that on the Shabbos, and I was wondering about it. I said, all right, there's a question here. And when I listened to Shlomo now, I said to myself, this is it, that the second story is a story of how nothing can be without people. So first you have people, and then nature sends us flowers, which is what the second story is telling. Okay? That's good?
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Wow. Thank you so much. We have 2 more minutes. I know I'm overdoing it. No, what time is it?
7.
I thought it's 20 after 7, so we have time. Don't look at the watch, folks.
Well,
The
you're
Khan.
supposed to go to 7.
What?
Scheduled to go to 7.
7. So that we have 2 more minutes.
Started a little late.
If you remember, before he sends the second goat to the desert, it says, he has to, confess in the name of all of Israel all our mistakes. What's he saying? He's saying all my mistakes came because I thought I'm worthless. All my mistakes come because, friends, you're not buying a lollipop for $1 million, right? Won't you know something? The Pinchas Kreuzer says, when will Mashiach come? That to waste 1 minute will be as horrible as killing a person. That's awesome, right? Why do we waste time? Because we really don't know how precious life is. The Heilige Chassam Sofer, 200 years ago, one of the greatest in the world, all those great Rebbes would sometimes, before they left the world, would say what they're going to claim upstairs when they get there, right? Some Sofer says when they come up to heaven, they'll ask me, did you learn? I say, yes, I could have learned more. Whatever they'll ask me, I would say could have done more, maybe. But one thing I can claim, that since the day I'm conscious, I have not wasted 1 minute. This is gewalt. But now listen to this. This is the deepest. I want you to open your hearts just for 2 more minutes. Basically, if I decide that this one goat is representing the voice of Uzo and Azor, who needs man, so let's send him straight to the desert when we have to keep him all day Yom Kippur. But this is what it is. I'm not saying to Uzo and Azor, you're wrong. Man is very important. There is also something inside of me I have to know. I can really become worthless. I can become worthless, right? It's not so simple. Uzo and Azor are not completely wrong. There are times when they're right. So the Kohen Gadol keeps Uzo and Azor all day Yom Kippur, right? Until the end. He is only sent to the desert at the end of Yom Kippur, because on Yom Kippur itself I have to stand before God and say, Master of the world, it's a miracle I'm alive because I did so much wrong. I could have become completely worthless. And I'm thanking you that I'm not completely worthless. And you see what Yom Kippur is all about? That even if I'm 1 second ago I was completely worthless, in 1 second I can be as holy as about Hashem. I can become worthless, not worthless, worthful, in one split second, right? You know, there's one thing, just as an example, came to my head. I remember that before the 6th Day War, when I was living in Yerushalayim, now I'm on the Moshe, but then living in Yerushalayim, and Friday night, we would always daven together, and there was one boy who was really like, he was maybe 20, 22, and he was like, let's say according to Uzo and Azor, it was completely worthless. He was always making us trouble. He always came Friday night, doped up and crazy. And it came to a point that the police thought, God forbid, I don't want to say anything bad, that I supplied the drugs for him because I was in San Francisco all the time. And one in the middle of the night, the police came, and you know, it was heavy. Everybody says, you have to throw him out. Got to throw him out. And then he disappeared a little bit. Want you to know something awesome? That in the middle of the 6th Day War, I'm invited to play in this huge airfield. And Gewalt. Don't to tell you, you know, those concerts will never be again, you know, like we could sing Esa Eina for 2 hours, right? Mamish, praying so hard, right? I remember one night we sang Am Yisrael Chai for 6 hours, you know? It's not like the Am Yisrael Chai and people do me a favor, clap a little bit. It was for real, right? Anyway, I'm coming to this airfield. The landing was a helicopter to play for the soldiers, and those soldiers say, listen, I'm a fakez, mamash, mechake lecha b'chilion yonayim. Which can push this out. I'm coming in, behold, it's this worthless boy. He was one of the 6 pilots who bombed the Cairo airport. He saved all of Israel. Do you know what that means? When his moment came, he took a stand. You never know, right? See, Yom Kippur, I'm holding on to this voice because I do have to know that, God forbid, this voice is right sometimes. You know, imagine I'm coming home, I'm tired and hungry, and I yell at my children, don't give me the Torah, I'm holy. No, you're not. You're not, you're worthless. You're worthless. Imagine I meet some Moshe Yoini who found this beautiful girl, but how many people meet someone and say, you know, I'm so much in love with this girl and I'm getting engaged. I say, this girl, you would know about her what I know. You can destroy a family, right? Destroy lives. So I say, you know, I'm very holy inside. Don't give me this. You're worthless. You're not worth even the earth you're walking on. You're worth nothing. You're dust. You should never have been created. It has to be clear to me. But it also has to be clear to me that I can do children. So the Ishbita says, I need to keep those voices alive until the end of Yom Kippur. But at the end of Yom Kippur, when I wash my heart clean, I wash my soul clean. Mamash, I swear by God, I'll never do it again. I'll never be like this again. Then it's clear to me that those two voices are wrong. It's not true. Then I wipe them out, right? Now listen to this. Awesome. On Sukkot, I'm bringing sacrifices for the 70 nations. And I hate to say bad things, it's earth-shaking, but maybe it's important for everyone to know sometimes. I'm a Jew, right? So I walk around and I say, all the goyim, damn you, who needs you, right? You know what that is? I am the voice of Uzun Hazoel again. If I can say what any human being is worthless, you're right there. This is what Asaph says. So you know, after Yom Kippur I have so much heart. I have so much heart, and I bring sacrifices for the whole world. See, before Yom Kippur, if I would bring sacrifices for the 70 nations, I would be lying to myself. I would be lying to myself. You never know, right? The mamish don't know, right? It's awesome. But then comes Simchas Torah, right? Shem Rabba, Simchas Torah. It's deeper than all this. It is the deepest. And also, you know, the Gemara says, all the Jews could sit in one sukkah. Why am I not inviting everybody to my Seder? Yeah, the poor man has nothing to eat. But basically, there are other people I think God shouldn't have created them. Only after God cleanses me on Yom Kippur, it's clear to me. I want to say this every Jew in my sukkah. I need every Yid together with me. When you see on Sukkot, I take the lulav and the esrog and the 4 species, and all year long the lulav thinks, you know, I'm the most important part of Judaism. I'm the chief rabbi of Jerusalem. I'm the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. But this Yid of the day drives his car on Shabbos who needs her, right? Before Yom Kippur, maybe he'll say it. After Yom Kippur, he say, Gewalt, I wish this heathen would be in my sukkah. What do we know? What do we know? Today something just came to my head. I think I shared it with you. You know, in my neighborhood, a lot of homeless people. And one morning, I see this black woman, Nebuch, a little bit drunk, a little bit so. I gave her $1. She held up the $1. She says, "Thank you, God." Gewalt, right? Putting all of us to shame. Because if someone does me a favor, say thank you.